We wanted to talk today about 5 things that we look for when we are considering buying a flip property. Or in our case, what we do is we do live-in flips. So we actually live in the home. It's our primary residence while we're renovating it. And so these are 5 things that we look for when we're trying to find a home to live in. This is going to be the first video that you've actually been in on the Flip On Up Facebook. You've successfully dodged to this point.
Yes.
So, how do we introduce you?
Oh, okay. I mean, I was peeks of me in the kitchen one about the countertops, right?
Yeah, so that was the case. And then when I was filming outside, you walked by in the window.
Yeah.
So, welcome to Flip On Up. This is Lauren. For those who don't know her, everyone probably does, but she's my lovely wife and the brains behind all of the design.
Kind of. We
Or,
both, yeah.
I let her take credit for it. I have to subtly drop some seeds in there of what I think.
Yeah.
So, the first thing that I tend to look for is square footage. Lauren, do real estate agents always list the correct square footage in their listings of the homes?
No. It can get kind of confusing. Sometimes people add on to their homes. It may or may not be permitted, but the square footage is there. And so it can be difficult as an agent, especially if you have a seller who doesn't know. You know, maybe the addition was done before they owned the home and now you're listing the home for that owner. It can be kind of confusing as far as square footage goes. And if you can find a home that has more square footage than what it's advertised for, that is a value add, because typically appraisers go off of price per square foot when valuing homes.
Yeah, so anytime that you can find a home that has less advertised square footage than it really has, there may be an opportunity. If it was an unpermitted addition, you may be able to get that work permitted. That may be a little bit of a challenge, and some people may not quite be up for that, but that is something that we search for. I think a bigger issue is when it's advertised as having more square footage than it really has. Sometimes we've gone into homes where they've called like a room in the garage part of the square footage of the home, and you can tell that it's definitely a very shoddy addition, or they've enclosed part of a 2-car garage and made it a 1-car garage and they're calling it a living space. Those are homes that you probably want to stay away from. The second thing that we look for is knob and tube wiring. We're typically looking at older homes when we're trying to find something that we can add value to, just because homes were built cheaper than they are today. Construction costs have really gone up. And when you're going back quite a ways in the really old homes, you may run into knob and tube wiring. And we ran into that in a recent home that we were looking at here in Porterville. It was an older home, very cute, but it had knob and tube. And so ultimately we decided to walk away from that one because of it.
So knob and tube isn't always a bad thing, is it? I mean,
if it was installed correctly, it may not be. Where you run into issues is if people have spliced onto it over the years, or it's been made to look like it's not knob and tube. I've taken off switch plates and it looks like normal Romex inside of the box. But if you trace it back to the panel, you may find that it is still, in fact, intact knob and tube. And so wherever they spliced onto, that can be a point of hazard where a fire could start. So, you know, it may be something that you bring in an electrician and have them take a look and let you know whether it has been properly bypassed or if it has been properly insulated and is still in good shape. It may not be a problem, but again, it's when somebody has done a real janky job of trying to hide the fact that there's knob and tube. That's something you really want to stay away from. Lauren, do you think that termites and dry rot are a deal breaker on a home?
So typically when a buyer gets into escrow on a property, within their first 17 days of due diligence, they'll do inspections, including a pest report, which will tell you if there are live or past termites in the home. I don't think that it's necessarily a deal breaker. You can have the home tinted. The cost is on the upper end of most repairs to homes to have it tinted. But they can be treated, and it doesn't mean the entire home is bad, but that is something that is a serious issue that needs to be dealt with immediately once it is found.
So the home that we're in now did have termites, and it had active termites. And so that was something we were able to go back to the owners of the home and negotiate with them. Just because they exist doesn't mean you should run away from the home. You may be able to get the owner to pay for tinting the home, which is what happened in our situation, and that remedied the issue. Then you do have some repairs that likely need to be made after that. And so you kind of have to weigh the costs of those repairs. I know as a contractor, when I'm looking at a property, the areas that I tend to look for and spend the most time looking at are the fascia board, so just below the roof line, any trim around windows, base trim at the bottom of the siding, anywhere that's near a planter where there could be standing water. Those are all really easy areas for termites or even dry rot to start to establish itself in the home. And so those are the first places you should look. It'll be the most obvious signs. If the home is on a raised foundation, you may want to look under the home as well. Anywhere where the home wood products at all are touching soil or near soil, that is a good entry point for termites. The fourth thing that we look for in an older home is hidden treasure. Like real treasure, money in the walls.
That would be nice.
I've never found money in the walls. I found some interesting things in the walls before. In fact, in this home, we actually found weightlifting plates in the concrete under the bathroom floor. That was kind of wild. But when we say hidden treasure, what we really mean is like hardwood floors under the carpets, or built-ins that may have been covered up, or even brick fireplaces that may have been plastered over as time has gone on. Things that would be very expensive to replicate. I know custom built-ins are not cheap. Even things like this wood fluting and paneling on this wall, to put those kinds of details in a home today really pushes the construction costs, and you'll find that most tract homes don't have those kinds of details, which is what really draws us to older homes.
The fifth thing that we look for, along with hidden treasures, are architectural details that are just there when you walk in. So, you know, fireplaces that have handmade tiles, or even handmade tiles on the floor, walls, bathrooms, you know, anything like that. The built-ins with the hand-carved wood detail is something that you just don't really find in new homes today. And so anything like that you can find in a home that is just not the norm is something that we really seek out, because that gives the home character and it makes it feel like your home versus anyone else's home in the rest of the subdivision.
And that's, again, another reason why we really seek out older homes. It was just something that people took a lot more pride in, but also construction costs were cheaper, and so it was easier to add in some of those real
unique details.
Yeah, there was more craftsmanship in a home. You know, there were homes that had cove ceilings. Our last home had cove ceilings. Again, coming back to the fluting, or we have some other wood paneling in this home that would just be very expensive to put in now. You don't really see those items in most tract homes. You'll get some options of some different variations of siding, or they'll transition flooring from room to room. But, you know, look at the moldings, the baseboards, the crown molding, things like that are not a common thing for people to splurge on anymore. And so you may be able to find a home at less than the cost of a brand new build that has a lot of those details, and then you are able to modernize your older home, which is what we do. We find older homes that have the details that we couldn't afford to put in, and then we modernize them. We fix some things up, get rid of faulty plumbing, we deal with electrical issues,
Termites,
yeah, new appliances, things like that make somebody feel like the home is modern, but really those are fairly easy things to fix. And bringing in that character that was so common in older homes is a lot more expensive thing to bring in. So those are the 5 things that we look for when we're trying to find a home to flip, to live in for ourselves. I know someday we hope to build our own home. That's going to be pricey because we've now become very accustomed to some of these character pieces in these older homes. And I know Lauren's got quite an eye for the design, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to either pay for it or build it myself. So we'll see. So if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next one.